Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Marcus from TCG Discussions coming out today with a Blackbeard deck profile that I just took to Peoria, Illinois. I wanted to run through this deck list with you guys, talk to you about the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. We're going to probably get into that section after I talk about my matches. I did go 7-3, but I'm really proud of myself in my run, and we'll kind of get into why I was also at the end glad that I lost. And there's a cool, neat little story behind that was like super weird, but it ended up happening. And yeah, I think this is a really, really strong list. I've had a lot of success, especially against the aggro decks, or the decks that like should quote unquote beat you. And I think this is going to be a pretty good explanation for everybody overall. So quickly get through matchups. Play the mirror. I got into round one, playing the mirror, and I got into this dominant endgame position where I had 2 teaches, 2 Vasco shots, 13k Burgess with 2 life and like 3 cards in hand, but he had like no life and 3 cards in hand with like a teach. I was just winning. It was just like one of the nastiest defensive plays I think I've ever done. I just knocked him to 0, didn't commit any teaches, played double Vasco and just passed, and like my opponent just like shook his head back and forth because there was just no out. Even double Shigan wasn't going to solve it. There just weren't enough attackers on the board, and it was just a really good win. Round 2, played against Lim. I actually lost this one, but I lost it not because like the Lim player did like Lim things and just beat me. I lost because my deck, I didn't see Stage or Lafitte at all, and I saw only 1 Era with 1 Teach and no Burgess, or maybe 1 Burgess, but it was like a super slow take your life as you go game. I did have 1 Shigan trigger and another one in my hand, so like I had some fighting chances. I also lived his board at one point, but overall it was a really, really slow game on my end, and my opponent was making some pretty weird attack sequences and let some things go that he probably shouldn't have. So it was a pretty bad loss overall for me, and this is one of the ones that I wish I could get back, but fundamentally I don't think there's anything I could have done differently. The deck just kind of not like crapped out, but like it was just like one of those games where like your variance is just super bad. Round 3, so X1 at this point, play against Bella Betty. I sit down against Bella Betty, I'm like, oh my lord, like no way. And oddly enough, I ended up pulling that one out for a victory. He had double Ivankov to start, which was just absolutely horrible to deal with, but I managed to pull through, deal with the Limburg through like a series of setups. He also took second from me, which is not terrible because we did get the line of Dot Q, Van Augur into Kuzan, and then we also had Stage. So like we were actually in a pretty prime position to pop a 4 cost. We just needed like another Liberation to go along with it, and then Shiryu for the small stuff, which we got a couple. We were able to pull that one out as a win, especially when I got like the teaches. I got like a teach on board, and then I played double Vasco I think in one turn, and he was just like completely cooked from there. Couldn't win. Round 4, and this is where things got really tough for me. So I played against a Shanks player. By the way, all of my Shanks matches on the day, I lost the die roll and they chose second. And this Shanks player beat me. However, he did not win because he outplayed me or did anything that like won him the game. He won because I completely threw the game, and I was super mad at myself. So I had like 3 decisions that I could have made, and I chose the worst of all 3, and the other 2 at least win the game. So we were in a position where he had 2 Shanks on the board, a blocker Sanji and his leader, and the blocker Sanji had attacked I think, and I can't really remember what he got from it, but I was scared that he had Roger in hand, so I didn't like take the life. I just like countered out, and I drew Teach, and I was in this position where like I could play it, negate the Shanks, swing with 5, scratch that. I actually think he didn't attack with it. I think he blocked with it, but I did counter out of his like leader swing, which was I think pretty big, and then he had his Shanks, and then like I block countered out of that as well. So I didn't want to go 0. Like that was like my fundamental fear. And when I countered out of his leader swing, instead of attacking my life and knocking me to 0, he actually dawned up and attacked my teach that was sideways, which is rather annoying because it's like 11k at this point. I'm just like thinking, looking, I'm like, there's just no way I can defend this. I've got like 2 cards in hand. I can only get to 15. I actually could get to 16, but he put 4 dawn on it. So like 7, I countered out of the leader swing, and then after countering out of the leader swing on the 7, he went to 16. I just didn't have the counter right. So he attacks with a teach. Let's go. I top deck teach, and instead of like playing it right away, stunning one of the 2 Shanks again, and then starting my attack sequence, I decided to swing with like my 11k Burgess at his life first because he was at 2 life, and then he gave me the damage. It's like whatever. blocker, then I play Teach. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to swing with leader. He blocks with the Sanji blocker that's 6k. And then I'm like, okay, well, I could either leave this Teach standing and probably win off of like the defense maybe on the crack. But what happens if he plays like 2 more blockers? And I would be in a really tough position if he did that. Like even if you play like 1 more blocker, it's like really not clear because his hand size was like 7 or 8 cards. And if he draws, he goes to like 8 or 9 and then he plays 2 blockers. And that's like all counter in his hand. I'm like, I don't think I win. I think I lose. So I took a risk and I attacked with the Teach into the Sanji blocker that it blocked. And then he literally dumped his hand down to like 1 card to say it was like bad manners to get it to 9. And then like, I think it was like 3 1Ks. Like he just dumped everything. Gave me like 5 cards. He had like 2 left in hand, and then I looked and I just like got lethaled. And if I just let the Teach standing, there's no way he can kill me. We can like try another turn, maybe I can pop a blocker and go for game. He also didn't have any other blockers in his hand, which was super annoying because like I tried to make the call based on the defense, and then I was like, I'm not making that mistake again. The thing that I should have done was just play the Teach right away, swing 5 if he blocks, have Burgess go at it, and then have Teach turn sideways out his life. And then if like he protects it on like the Burgess that's like 11 or 12 at that point, then I'll swing into it with the Teach and kill it so that he doesn't have him. Now he has no cards in hand. So I completely threw that game down the drain. Then we cut to lunch and I was completely and utterly upset with myself. I don't think I've ever been more mad at myself in a tournament in my entire life, like throwing a game like that down the drain, because I'm in round 4 and I'm 2-2. I already know that X2 is the only way that you're going to be able to get into top 3-2, and I really wanted my invite. And I'm also not happy because I've lost in the early rounds twice, which is like really bad for your tie breaks, which we'll get into here in a bit. So lunch rolls around and we finish eating and everything, and then they start round 5 and I sit down against the Shanks player, and I was determined to bring hellfire to the Shanks. Lost the die roll, he went first. I got into the exact same position, minus like the double Shanks. It was like dragon Shanks, basically. And I did not make the same mistake twice. I didn't even attack. I just let Burgess and the Van Augur that was on the board poke him down and just left all my Teaches standing and kept playing Teach after Teach after Teach and just left them all standing. And then he just lost. Like there was nothing he could do. The next 2 matches were also Shanks. They also all took second for me, one after winning the die roll, and in similar fashion, absolutely got destroyed. Now, the last Shanks player, this is now round 6 and 7. Round 7 Shanks. Okay, this guy, I'm just gonna say this right now. I have no idea how I won this. And it was just I guess in some ways you have to get lucky off the draw, but I don't think in most matches where the following card sequence occurs that you can generally win this. So he played in that game 3 Zoro 4-cost rushes, 3 5-cost Luffys, a dragon, and a 10-cost rush Shanks, and still could not kill me. At this point, I'm like really confident after this win, because like that was probably Shanks's best effort going second curve with every rush tool available to him, and it still didn't matter. And so I was really happy with this one by far. It was a really good win for me, and I have no idea how I won that game. I ended up pulling it out. I got my Teaches in play and was really focused on board control when the cards were sideways and making things as suboptimal as possible. Round 8, I played Dofi, and I don't know what happened, but it was the luck of God. I just got a string of plays in a row that decimated him. I finished that game with Dofi with 2 life. I had been grab bladed. I just completely and utterly dismantled his board every turn. I also took a philosophy tip from a friend of mine, Seth. He's a really good player. He's topped multiple times. I took a page out of his suggestion book to kill the Teach early, and we'll talk about this a little bit when the Blackbeard guide releases. But in the Dofi matchup specifically, Teach is actually kind of your best friend because he reduces the Dofi player's hand size and restricts the number of plays that he can possibly do. And then once you get rid of everything, like it doesn't matter anymore. Also, Teach plays straight into this card, Liberation, the 6-cost event, and it's like really problematic if you have this card and Teach just keeps doing what he does every turn. Really proud of that win. Got the dub. Decided to move on to the next round. And then in round 9, I played against Zoro. And again, I won. And it was like, insane. He won the die roll and went second. The Dofi player also won the die roll, made me go first. There was just a lot, and I mean like a lot kind of luck. I think that God really was like watching over me in this tournament. Again, the Zora player got completely dismantled. I was on the first curve. I opened up stage with a Doc Q and Van Augur already in hand, and then search Kuzan. I played Doc Q down, and then I think I played a Lafitte and swung 5, and he didn't have Shut Up and Come With Us. And so I was kind of cooking and chilling from there. The next turn, he had played some kind of 3-cost Zoro, swung 6/6. I took one and countered out of another, and then I played Shiryu, searched off Lafitte, and popped his Zoro and swung 5 at his life. And then from there, I had Kuzan in hand. I pitched the Augur, so he just couldn't do the on plays. He played a 3-cost chopper and another 3-cost chopper, and he played like the 3/4 chopper that plays a card and then a blocker chopper. And then I did like Augur, Doc Q, Kuzan shenanigans, and swung 5. All right, like I just like swung at his life. And then the turn after that, like it was like 5-cost Luffy into something else. I already had finger pistol in my hand by that point, and so like he just kind of got dismantled. Right, like I just kind of cooked that Zoro player, and then I'm like sweating, right? I'm X2, and I know X2 is the only thing that can make it, and I had just gotten off of my 2 worst matchups, and late into the tournament, we're talking round 8 and 9, right? So these aren't like the scrubby-ish players. They're the players that, you know, you expect to be there because, I mean, they're playing me who's X2, but they're far, right? They're far in the tournament. They're deep in the weeds. And so round 10, I get Plastic Beach. He's a YouTuber and a local in the area. And sure enough, he's playing Marco. Now, I didn't know he was playing Animal Chopper Marco, but he made me go first, and I already had Augur, Dot Q, and Stage. So like his 3-cost chopper shenanigans, that wouldn't have worked, and I just would have started pitching way earlier in the game. Like I'm expecting Ivankov, and I was kind of gonna pitch early anyway because I already had like the potential Kuzan line to replace the card. But the thing that's like super important in that matchup specifically, even if it's a non-chopper build, the Ivankov can get a serious amount of value. Shiryu is not nearly as strong against Marco as he is in other matchups. Now he gets rid of stuff, right? But then the leader effect of Marco like automatically makes Shiryu a base 5. And then if Ivankov plays in the Monet that they're generally playing, then they'll attach 2 to Marco, reduce Shiryu down, and then increase Marco with 2 attached on to 7, and then his effect will activate, reducing him 2 more, so then he'll be a 4 to 7 swing. And they're not giving 2 2Ks to save a Shiryu, especially when it can be brought back with Kuzan. So like I already kind of know what's like going on with that, and naturally what I would have done to counter that would have also countered Chopper, and I had the absolute nuts on first curve anyway. But while we're setting up and getting ready to play the game, the judges stop us and give us a repair, and I went up against a guy named Caleb, really cool guy, also X2. So was Plastic Beach as well, but I didn't really know what he was playing until I sat down against him, and I didn't have like the matchup knowledge that I was like prepared for. All I know is that my table number and my rank drastically jumped. I went from 129 to like 58 in rank before this round ended. So I was like, maybe there's a chance. But then we were checking my match history, and I'll get into what Caleb's playing in a second. We checked my match history, and it ended up showing that like I was the very bottom of X2s by win percentage. So what that means is that if I had won this game, I 100% would have bubbled out. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I had the absolute worst match winning percentage, meaning my opponents who I beat, who they played, right? It was not good. It was just not good. And so Caleb, on the other hand, his rank was 38, which is really good, and he was playing Pluffy. So I literally got the Dark Horse 5 against Blackbeard. I got Bello, I got Lim, I got Dofi, I got Zoro, and I got Pluffy. 5 out of my 10 rounds. I did lose this Pluffy game, and there was absolutely nothing I could do. All 3 of my black holes were in my life. There was no winning that game. I did not have the counter. My hand was extremely event heavy. I could have countered out a 1-5K swing with Burgess at my 6th on curve. He won the die roll and chose to go first, by the way. And sure enough, though, I didn't counter the Burgess on the 5 swing to prevent the damage because it was the only one in my hand. And then I drew for my 8 on turn and it was Burgess. And I planned on finger pistoling a card and playing Burgess. So it was just all around like not meant to be for that win. But because Caleb won, he did top. And I would much rather him go on and actually have a chance to go all the way than me win that, not even make top 32. Prize card doesn't really matter. Like, it matters, like, because it's money, but it's like, whatever, dude. But me losing gave someone else an opportunity to be more successful when I had no chance of being successful for the entire tournament anyway. Now, if I would have had a chance to go on and like actually top and make it, yeah, but I was the bottom rank of all the X2s, so there was just no possible way. So just to quickly go back over everything. So I played the mirror round 1, won. Lim round 2, lost. 3 played Bello, won. Shanks through that game, lost. Then I played Shanks, Dofi, Zoro, all won. And then I played Ploofy in round 10 and finally succumbed to my mortality and perished and went to X-3. 2 things to note about this. This was probably one of the most Herculean efforts to win 5 in a row, of which 2 of those 3 are 25 or 35 at the maximum % win rates on their choice of curve. This is a very strong list if it's able to do that. I will also say that I was red rocked twice and grav bladed against Dofi and it still didn't matter. He still lost when I had 2 life. So we're going to kind of talk about what makes this list specifically so strong and why like I prefer it over the iBid build. And there's going to be some principles that I may talk about in some of the matchups that are like bad for you specifically, that like tech wise we're doing pretty good. Tech wise we're doing pretty good, and that it's overall just a hyper value engine at the end of the day. So starting with 3 Augur. Okay, so this is one of the best cards in the deck, and if I could play 4 of this card I would, but unfortunately Shiryu is like a mainstay staple right now due to the low to the ground aggro that we have. And Augur's best played off of this Kuzan, and that's like really no surprise, but you can't really underestimate how strong this card is. If Augur is a cheap counter out and then he's replayed off Kuzan, he replaced himself and he'll replace himself again when he dies. And so this is a card that I think that you must play at least 3 of. It's really strong in the mirror, and there's a lot of really low to the ground decks right now. Like Bello's a low to the ground deck, Dofi is, Shanks plays several 4 or 3 costs, Zoro is, Luffy can, right? So if you have to go on the odd curve, you can do the dot Q Augur line and kill the Zoro. If they play at 4 costs, they usually try to play Kid if they can, whatnot. He has his place. The real trick with this card, and this is like kind of a skill gap issue among Blackbeard players, I'll just give you a little tidbit, is playing the Kuzan down on 6 Dawn, or it would be your 7 Dawn turn, or doing some kind of Augur shenanigans to get rid of a card. The Shanks player doesn't get rid of it and plays something like Dragon or Rayleigh. And you're going to pitch, by the way, because if Rayleigh comes down, this card's going to die. You're going to pitch for Dragon as well, because if Dragon does, then he's just going to get a lot of pressure, right? At the 8 axis or Dawn turn, he's going to be able to swing 5/9 only, right? So you can only cost 1 card. Whereas if you give him the ability at 8 Dawn, he's gonna get at least 2 cards out of your hand to stop the leader swing, and then whatever Dragon, right? If you decide to stop, which you probably end up taking it at that point. But Augur and Shigan, though, is one of the nastiest combos that you can have. And I actively try to set this up against Shanks or other decks that like to play 8 cost all the time. Because Finger Pistol can KO a 5 or less, and this is a reduced 3, you can set up the Kuzan. There's no way for a Shanks to move the card at all, right? If they want to Divine Departure this, I guess it's like whatever. But other than that, they don't have any other on plays. But Kuzan, for sure, they cannot get rid of the card. And by doing this at 5 or 6 Dawn or the 7 Dawn Dawn play and getting this ready, you can just blow Shanks off the board by getting rid of their 4 costs, especially if it's slow. If it's like Rayleigh, you can just Augur Finger Pistol the card, and then like they're cooked, right? Like them not having that 8 cost is gonna bite them, and if it's not Dragon, it's really slow. So you can take the tempo back and just like win, right? Like you're gonna start winning. Like you play Vasco, Burgess, and like some searches and a couple swings here, it's just gonna be really bad news for the Shanks player, which is how I won all those games going first. 3 of my 4 opponents that played Shanks played Rayleigh on 8 and it died. The other one played Dragon and I killed it as well. You just can't really underestimate the value of this card. And I think that even though it's not good against a 5 cost like decks like Lim, he has a pretty good place and spot in the deck, and 3 is good enough so you can see him often enough with all the filtering and searching you do. For Burgess, this is like not even shocking and probably not even really talking about. It's hard to like evaluate him in terms of like how close he is to best, but he's obviously one of the strongest cards in your deck. Shiryu, we play 3. I didn't want to cut him down for another like Lafitte or something like that, so I saw him enough. Shouts to Brayden, who's a judge, for getting me my 3 judge copies of this card to play. That was really cool and really nice. But all that to say, Shiryu is really good. This is something you can also underestimate in the mirror. You playing this card down if you don't have stage can be one of the only saving graces. The only issues that it plays into this Shiryu, so they can just like kill the card kind of like right away, right? But if you don't have stage, playing this card, if it lives, you can attach a Dawn, get to swing 5 at your Blackbeard opponent, trash 2 cards from your hand to draw 2 cards, which is not bad, right? Like you can set up your trash a little bit, fuel it, and then draw deeper into your deck. Make sure that you use that tip, right? Stronger, obviously one of the best. We like to see this with Finger Pistol. If I see this combination against Purple Luffy, I keep it, because what you're looking to do is like lib the 4, hit this with 7, and then if they go wide again, hit them with this liberation, and you're looking to like take care of them that way. And Stronger is one of the best ways to facilitate that. Obviously one of the best. Q, not a lot of explaining on this card. I guess I should elaborate a little bit. It's obvious, like with Augur, he kills a 4 cost, right? He also replaces himself when he's KO'd. He draws a card. What's not obvious is like what spots and what matchups he's really good in. Like in the mirror, he just kills Lafitte for free and you don't have to use your leader attack on the card, right? Like that's actually something that's like pretty important, because life super matters in the mirror. And if you are wasting attacks on cards like this, then opponents able to just attack you, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Especially when like the Burgesses start to live or like teaches start coming down. It can get a little bit dicey if you have something that is sticking to the board that's really good and strong for their tempo, momentum, and strength behind the teaches that are coming down. And so what you want to do is have something that can get rid of these cards like Lafitte and at the same time not cause you to have to worry about it. Same thing for Shiryu, right? Shiryu is also like a beat stick. If they play Shiryu to pop your .Q, they're just letting you draw a card. So there's almost no incentive for them to play this card and use it to get rid of it. But if they do play the card because it's a body, then Van Augur, which is also extremely strong in the mirror, because in order to get rid of it again, they're going to have to let you draw a card unless they black hole it, which they will certainly not. That has got to be one of the biggest throws I think I've ever heard in my life because of Burgess. But then this now becomes an out to the Shiryu, and that's like really strong. Obviously he kills other 1 cost, very pivotal against Dofi, very strong against the 1 cost and the 4 cost in the deck, and so I prefer this card over Ibid, which is why I play it. Vasco shot it too. As you can see from the list, no Katarina Devon. I just want to say that while Devon is very good in a lot of ways, like you could cut a liberation for this, but I liked it at 2. The Vasco shot is just strictly too good to play at anything less than 2. There's multiple reasons for this. Katarina is best played off Kuzan, not off of a raw play. Yes, you can play her raw, but her best spot is going to be with the Kuzan, which it does give you a 5 cost to play off the Kuzan, which is nice. But here's the issue. If you can play 1 Katarina or 2 Vascos, you are almost always going to play 2 Vascos. And depending on what you need to do with the other Dawn, the other 6, this can be extremely important, right? So the Dawn allocation difference for getting like a Katarina and a Burgess out of trash with Kuzan could be a 6 swing with 2 Vascos and a Kuzan bringing back a Burgess. That is just infinitesimally stronger. It's not only a safeguard for your life, but for anything that's rested on the board. And additionally, if teaches start coming down behind that, like if you're on the odd curve and like you have double Vasco this into Burgess, and then you have teaches coming down, your opponent is probably dead, because you don't even have to invest the teaches into blocks, or like you can block a bad swing with the teach if they're trying to bait you with something, and then if they threaten the teach or the board, or it's a life you don't want to take, you have the Vascos as backup. And so like this starts to snowball very quickly. With Vascos on the board that live in that position, your teaches can free swing, especially when you have another one coming down. So if it's like Burgess, Vasco, teach, this teach can now swing when you play another one behind it, which is really nice. 3 of the feet. Oh, sorry, I skipped over a teach. Well, there's a lot to talk about this card. It's like broken. I don't want to skip over a teach. He's the mainstay. Obviously, it's a really powerful card. It's no secret. It's what we're trying to get to help swing the game back into our favor, take advantage of the fact that our opponent's leader is going to be there, and just completely decimate him. You have to pick your spots with this card and when it can and can't attack, and understand that in matchups like Zoro and Dofi, this card is less than helpful. Zoro, it's a little bit different because they can't get rid of the card the way that Dofi can, but Dofi just red rocking this card. If your opponent has searched, like they whiff on a red rock, you need to find a way to play that game that doesn't involve the teach unless it's absolutely necessary. And that's what I did, and I don't think I played a single 10 cost teach against Dofi player, and I still won with 2 life. It's just something to kind of like think about. There are some skillful spots to play this card, but it's overall a very dominant card, and then once it's played, the game starts to shift into our favor. Lafitte, very, very strong card, not worth the 4 of, but definitely a 3 of, right? I don't see myself ever going to 2 on this card. We're just hurting our early game too much. Kuzan, definitely a 4 of. One of my big tips that I receive is that I need to use this card more. I'm kind of pitching it because it's dead in aggro matchups, but I also need to treat them like they're the bodies in the aggro matchups plus a draw. You know, if I just pitch off Hachinosu to search like counter, I could possibly draw counter and then search off of something else, right? Also, this draw here, there are times where I want to use this card to play the card to get the draw because everything in my hand is too good to pitch off Hachinosu or leader effect. And sometimes I'll just draw the Hachinosu and be able to pitch it. The fact that this card can't be removed, that means there are certain matchups where this card will get to stay in attack, which is also really good. Just bear that in mind. Shiryu, why not at 4? I'll tell you why not at 4. Because there are matchups where this card is just awful. This is good against killing Teach and Dofi, but overall very bad, right? Can kill the 1-drops as well, which is nice. And he has a very good body. The card is strong. This plus 2k that he gets on his opponent's turn is nuts. It really is. It's a 4-5. It's a good spot on the even curve to play it. Even the odd curve, it's not bad depending on what you got going on. Like if you have like Lafitte on the board, right? You Irid, you played Lafitte, and you can Shiryu into something that's good. It's really strong into Zoro. It's good against Bellows blockers, Karasu blocker, so on and so forth, right? You can just get rid of chump cards that want to swing at you, chump blockers. This card eats alive. So I like this card. It does suck that it has to KO the original cost of 3. I just wish it was the cost of 3. That's what they should have done with this, but it's still a really good card and a great utility Swiss Army knife. We can also bring it back off Kuzan. Like we can play one, use one for counter, and then play Kuzan, and then bring that card back. So it's like we were playing multiple copies, not getting rid of them and getting to draw a card, right? And that's one thing about like Kuzan and some of these matchups, like you need to think about ways that you can use the counter in your hand to combo in the next turn to like get him back. And that's like a skill gap that like I'm starting to bridge, and the deck is starting to flow a lot better together. Finger pistol, broken trigger, broken card. Not a lot to say. There's a reason it's $12. This is my era, or this is my age on the sim, whichever one. I always call it this is my age. This card was at 3 in every list. All of my lists in 09 I only played 3, so on and so forth. There are 2 deficits. It can't search itself, which is a problem. And then the other issue, there are times where this card like mills. One of the cards like you mill is something you don't want in your trash, like a Teach or something, right? But you have to choose something else because it's like more prominent, but you'd still like that Teach in the deck, right? I had to basically abandon that philosophy. This card at 4, I was playing at Virginia Beach, cut a Shiryu, cut an Age, and I was playing 4 Q and 4 Augur, and I cut one and cut one for Peoria to increase Shiryu to 3 and this to 4. And this card at 4 has just been amazing. As a trigger, it's insane. It's another starter, so now we have 11 starters. We're getting closer to that 12 round out that I'd like to be. I mean, even if I cut a Shiryu for a Lafitte, that was something that I'd consider doing just so I have like max consistency. Like Lafitte's good enough on his own down. This card is just completely bonkers. I really love the way this card fuels Burgess, the way that it is a good use of that one Dawn. Like if you have it in your hand, you have a Dawn to spend, a 6 swing doesn't matter, a 5 is going to achieve what you want, which is 1 card down, you're going to get that, right? And this card can just light up the drop area super quickly when you resolve consecutives in a finger pistol and Hachinosu. Burgesses start to get big quick, and that is what you want. That's how you just dominantly win when they start coming down behind this card resolving multiple times. Liberation, this is a card I've honestly considered bumping to 4 given the mirror, but personally I think that Liberation is fine at 3, or Black Hole, sorry. Black Hole, they're both Liberation on the sim, and I'm just like reading the card. This card is really strong in the mirror, make no mistake. If the mirror ever became more popular, this card would probably have to go to 4. When the structure deck comes out for Teach, he's just like tier 0.5 or 0, then this card will probably have to be a 4 to kill Burgess. If you have this card at 4, it's pretty winning. I think one of the guys that Peoria though was only playing 2 this card or one of it, and I'm like, there's no shot you should be winning that, but whatever. But this card is insane because there's lots of annoying cards like Lucky Roo or the 4-cost Zoro, for example, or the Sanji. There's a lot of red cards that it's really annoying. This card addresses, right? Negating those effects and getting rid of them is just crazy. It's also one of the reasons why like cards like Basil Hawkins don't really matter, right? So we like this card a lot. Lib, yep, broken card. Okay, I didn't play IBID because of this card's existence. It's every time I saw this, if I got it in my hand, my opponent was like crapping their pants. Absolutely, like, no way, bro. Like, I can't play in this card. Dofi is basically forced to play into this. And if you have like Augur.QQs online and to Shiryu into this card, they're getting cooked. They can keep throwing whatever bodies they want. Right now, for most Dofi lists, up until this weekend, I believe the highest cost card in their deck was, in fact, Jozu. So this basically was guaranteed to hit the top end of their deck. They are now escalating, right? They're starting the escalation scale, and I had 7-cost Dofi at least 2 was a mainstay in the deck for the weekend, but it is what it is. We can still work around 7s pretty easy with Finger Pistol Stronger, or they're just negating them with Teach. And so we're gonna kind of methodically play around those cards, right? Hachinosu. This card is bonkers, man. Like I'm just gonna be 100% with you. This card's crazy. You have to play this card at 4. If this card is in your hand but not your opponents in the mirror, you're just going to win. You're going to see everything. You're filling your trash every turn. You're turning bad cards into good cards. You're turning irrelevant cards at the game state into other cards. You're turning non-counter into counter. I mean, this card just kind of does it all. It's a really great card, and I'm glad that Blackbeard has it. I'm glad this wasn't touched. It would just be completely awful. I don't know why like people are like, yeah, German Kingdom's allowed to exist with all that Reiju does, but Blackbeard can't have Hachinosu. It's just crazy. But this is a card that you actively look for, right? Like in your opening hand, you may mulligan. If you have this card in your hand is bad, you actually may keep it because you're guaranteed to see 3 more cards deeper into your deck every single turn. It's one of the reasons why Blackbeard is one of the most consistent decks. Being able to see top 3 and search this entire deck minus this card is completely crazy. Every single card in this deck besides Finger Pistol is searchable. Like, think about that. That is absolutely crazy. The odds that this card whiffs are just near 0. The chances of 3 Finger Pistols on the top of your deck are just insanely low. They're insanely low. I think this card is super broken, increases the consistency. You do need to be a little bit careful against Dofi going first, playing this down right away. For example, if you have this card and Lafitte in your hand and you're like, well, which one should I play? You should always play Lafitte because you're going to draw another card when you go into your second turn, and then you're going to get to search off Lafitte, and it's deeper while giving them a card that they have to swing into and address. And then you can either play Doc Q or Hachinosu, one of the 2. Even in that situation, right? Like Doflamingo plays like only 1/1 drop. You search off Lafitte, you can actually play Doc Q and pop it there because like you have a chance to search for another Doc Q if they attack over it, and the Doc Q will let them draw a card. Otherwise, it probably lived because Lafitte is probably going to be the card they're going to attack. And every turn this card lives, it's a plus. The reason though that it's important to plus off this is so that when you play the Hachinosu, you're going neutral and you just have an extra card to see to possibly filter out with the card. That's pretty much it for the list. You'll understand very shortly when the guide starts coming out, certain matchups that I play, my curves, what I want to do, what I'm looking to do, and how I'm wanting to approach the deck methodically. So look forward to that guide soon. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. This is Marcus from TCG Discussions signing off. Laters. 起きろ
起きろ。起きろ。